Happy New Week to everybody out there, ladies and gentlemen. This is our daily press review on Cam1 Television. I'm a Commander Charles Abana at your service, and right by me is Councillor Badimiro.
Yes.
It's always good to have you on set, sir.
The pleasure is mine, sir.
So, how was the weekend?
It was wonderful. A little bit stressful, up and down, work, family, but we thank God.
We saw some political tensions over the weekend with the ongoing presidential election bid actually taking place. We saw that Professor Maurice Kamto has been excluded from the lists of participants who are going to run for the October 12 elections. I mean, how do you actually perceive that particular atmosphere, in Douala, Yaoundé, and all the big cities in Cameroon?
Well, the first thing I'll say is shocking. Really shocking, because Professor Maurice Kamto is a very influential person, especially when it comes to the issue of the presidential elections, and also his influence that has been all around the country. So I believe for his supporters is going to be a very huge blow in their faces. Then again, Professor Maurice Kamto is someone who is known for not giving up. So we will see how matters unfold.
Okay, yes. So we'll be coming back to that. As the program unfolds, without further ado, let's just start with the papers we have today. We are going to immediately kickstart this particular session today with the Guardian Post, which is out there. The Guardian Post has a lot of stories in store today for us. Now, the Guardian Post says October 12 polls, Kamto should emulate Ousmane Sonko of Senegal as early as last Thursday, July 24, the name of 13 aspirants for the October 12 presidential elections from a weird basket of 83 are already trending on social media. It sparked threads of a mayhem if Kamto did not feature on the list of aspirants detained by the Electoral Board of Elections, Cameroon Elecam. There were virulent reactions, with many vowing that no Kamto, no election. These dreadful tensions was in the air. That is apparently why last Friday, July 25th, the United Nations Department of Safety and Security said in a statement that in case of the rejection of certain candidates in this election, it is possible there will be protests in the center of Yaoundé and near the seat of Elekam. Now, Race to Unity Palace, as you can see on the screen there, we have all the 13 candidates who were shortlisted by Elekam. We have Ateki Seta Kakson of the Power Party, Belubo Magari of UNDP, Bia Paul of CPDM, Puga Hagbe Jacques of MCNC, and we have Zipan Hilaire Make of MP, Issa Chiloma Bakari of FSNC, Yodi Hiram Samuel of FDC, Kwemo Pierre of UMS, also have Libi Li Ngege Cabral of PCRN, Matumba Sechespoir of PUS, Muna Kere Tabeng of Univer, also Joshua Nabangi of SDF, and the only woman running for this particular presidential elections is Tomaino Hermine Patricia Epus Damjoya of the UDC. Now, also, we have another interesting story still on this particular publication today. They say October 12 election, Prime Minister Radis Fakou CPDM elites to ensure victory for Bia. The Prime Minister, Head of Government, Dr. Chief Joseph Diangote, has engaged elites of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM party in Meme and Fakou divisions in the Southwest region to ensure victory for the head of state, Paul Bia, in the October 12 presidential election. This was the focus of the meeting chaired in Boya on Saturday, October 26th. The delegations from Fakou and Meme included local elected officials like municipal councillors, mayors, regional councillors, parliamentarians, senators, and some high-ranking public officials from the two divisions. The delegations were received separately, according to what the Guardian Post has in store today for us. Now, back to this race to the Unity Palace, still on the Guardian Post, Councillor Badi. I'm much more interested in the youngest candidate who is running. I think it is Yodi Hiram Samuel of the FDC party. I mean, we have not had this particular kind of trend in Cameroon for, I don't know if we've ever had this kind of trend before. I mean, for a 37-year-old person to
not
be running, not in your memory, it's not in your memory. For a 37-year-old to be running for presidential elections in Cameroon, this is unheard of. I mean, but we are happy to see that we have a youth like this who is part of the race. I mean, in his state, is part of the race. That shows that the political landscape in Cameroon is changing. I mean, what is your take on this?
Well, I think it's amazing, considering the fact that many youth, when it comes to elections and most public affairs, many youth tend to withdraw, but watching a man of this age stepping up to actually not only ascend any kind of position, but the most powerful position in the country. I think it's very applaudable, and I also want to see how this elections is going to be engineered and what it's going to take for him to get there. Right now, this is something I believe we have never seen before, and it's fingers crossed. We want to see how this will go. So I believe we are expecting a very wonderful elections. We are expecting something that will literally change the nature of our community and how we even see the presidential elections, how we even see democracy running in our country.
And we think this is not the first political journey for Yodi. I think he also spearheaded Akere campaign, presidential campaign in 2018, which means that he's not new to the terrain.
And he was doing that at a much younger age.
I mean, we're talking about 2018, it's about some 7 years ago.
Yes.
So, I mean, by then he was maybe 30 or so.
Exactly.
So you can see that. Yes. And just to recall that Yodi was educated in Cameroon and Canada. He had a degree in chemical engineering from Université Laval in Quebec, Canada, and equally bagged a certificate in business management. He also served as auditor at Cameroon Audit Conseil Oil and Gas Sector. He also served as director of operations at Africa Genesis, according to the information we have from him. He's currently an interim chief executive officer in a Cameroonian agro-industrial group since 2022. Samuel Yodi is well known for his youth activism home and abroad. He's also the founder of the Synergie de la Jeunesse Camerounaise, an initiative which has helped to promote entrepreneurship, civic engagement, and leadership. But this is not his first political journey, like we earlier said.
That's a rich profile.
It's a rich profile. We earlier said he spearheaded and actually coordinated, Akere Muna's presidential campaign in 2018. So kudos to him. I think that's a commendable effort. And we are seeing that a young man at this time to change the political landscape in Cameroon. That's a plus for the country, because we have seen a lot of very aging people always running for these particular positions. But to see a young person like this coming up and springing up from the blue, I think it is really very encouraging to so many of us youths out there.
To all the
basically to everybody out there. So we are going to continue with our program, and we are going to go to the next paper for the day. I think we have the Cameroon Insider, which is up next. The Cameroon Insider is the next paper we are going to review here today. The Cameroon Insider has some stories too, and says government allocates over 57 billion for accrued civil servants benefits. The operation, which concerns 178.383 civil servants, starts with the payment of the July 2025 salary. This is part of the settlement of benefits for advancement in grades and classes generated by the implementation of the new personnel and payroll management software known as EGG by the end of 2024. You can read this particular story today on page 7 of the Cameroon Insider. Plus, Togo Marathoners bestows award-winning attire on National Museum, celebrated worldwide for running marathons dressed in Cameroon's richly embroidered traditional Togo regalia to raise funds for charity and the social causes. Afowele Kizito Fonzenui officially handed over the Togo robe cap and shoes worn during the historic Tokyo Marathon to the National Museum on July 23rd. Page 11 of the Cameroon Insider reports the story factually. Now, October presidential race, Elekam picks 13 from the crowded pool, and that's what we have today by the Cameroon Insider. Plus, after economic rounds in Douala, PM holds political consultations in Boya. After a busy 2 days in Douala on July 24th to 25th, where he laid the foundation stones for 2 multi-billion industrial projects, the head of government was in Boya on Saturday, July 26th, where he held political consultations with different delegations and urged support for the ruling party's candidates on October 12th. Then also the story of Afreximbank's George Limbe is in Yaoundé for a thank you visit, as the Cameroonian-born president of the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, has begun his African tour with an official visit to Cameroon. He was received by Finance Minister Louis Paul Motadze on Friday, during which they discussed processing and industrialization, which would naturally involve infrastructure. These are some of the stories which Cameroon Insider has installed today for us. Now, Cameroon Insider comes up with this particular story, and we have been seeing a lot of groundwork lately from the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gote. I mean, you see the work rate which of John Gote, what he's doing. We just saw last week he was in Douala to actually try to was part of the project where they tried to boost the port authority in Douala. I think the project which is running for over 287 billion francs CFA.
Wow.
And then we saw that he came back to the southwest to hold consultative talks, with some political bigwigs too, who are actually from the CPDM political party. Now, my question is this: how do you actually envisage this particular election period with the CPDM at the forefront of it?
Well, the CPDM has always been at the forefront of the elections ever since I was born, and however, this year, I would say a lot of things have been done, via infrastructure, via finance, not just this year. Last year when we had the meeting, the Minister of Agriculture,
yes,
you see a lot of things coming up. Now, what I would say, my personal opinion is, I would really like to see how this unfolds, and I pray these activities that are taking hold now will not only take hold now before elections, but also after the elections, so that people can also see the fruits of their sacrifices and the path which they have chosen to actually join.
No, but the good thing is that the CPDM has been putting a lot of work. We have seen the groundwork which would have done. President Paul Biya himself has done a lot of work for the country. But how do we handle the criticisms from other countries? Because I've been seeing Nigerians putting things on social media talking about our president running for an 8th term. I mean, how do we handle that particular criticism? Do you think that age is a factor here?
Well, then again, what I would say is every country has its own dynamics. Nigeria is a federal country. Nigeria has moved from 3 different republics to what it is now.
Yeah.
There was a time when people could not run elections the way that we are running here. So our dynamics are completely different. And I would think we should focus more on how we can improve our country and take it to the next level rather than comparing with other countries, because they have different other ingredients that make them to be what they are.
Yeah.
And we have our own unique ingredients that make us to be Cameroon as we are. So I think personally, like we have a young man, 37 years old, running for president. We have the CPDM, despite all of the numerous criticisms. We always focus. Let me not say we always. Sometimes we focus on the criticisms and we ignore the good things too that have been done. I believe every time we are criticizing, we should also look at the good things that the party has done, because this will put us on a table of saying, okay, last year,
always balance the scale.
Yes, we have to balance the scale. We will say, okay, last year this is what was supposed to happen. This is what we are expecting now. So I believe we should look at the future with a great eye of optimism, and we have to come together. This is a time that we as a youth, we as a country, we have to come together to actually make sure that we do what is right. Not just for the CPDM, but for the entire country. I mean, we have 13 people who are standing there right now. Everyone has his supporters. So where do you stand? Where do I stand? I think that's what we should focus on.
We focus on. Yes. What a time indeed it is to be Cameroonian.
Exactly.
Now we go to the next paper of the day. We have from Cameroon Insider, we are going to talk on the Sun. The Sun paper, this is a Limbe-based paper here, right in the city of Limbe. Now the Sun says, and changes the narratives a bit, and says the race narrows down to 13. Elekam throws out Cam2 and 69 others. And the 2-year-old Biya going for 8th mandate after all. List announced amid tight security. Also, the Sun says Bishop Bibi marks 25 years of grace-filled service to the church. And also, we have this story where it says CMA General President Oki Johnson receives double honors for exemplary leadership. Now, Prime Minister John Gute, Professor Nalova Lyonga strategized for major Biya victory in the southwest region of the country, plus Balondo researcher activist Dr. Aja Orobau South. And also we have this other story from the Sun where they say, this is our time, let us rise, as Joshua Osi Nabangi entreats Cameroonians. And the last story which we are seeing on the front page of the Sun paper is Germany takes diplomacy to media space. All these stories collaborated on the Sun paper, which is out on the stands as we speak. Now let's focus now on the SDF political party with Joshua Osi Nabangi.
Yes.
He is one of those Cameroonians who many people believe could or should be president for this country, because first and foremost he's very bilingual, and he has a manifesto that has actually proven that he can actually be at the helm of office.
He can hold a chair.
He can hold a chair. Now, when you look at Joshua Opsi Nabangi's political parkour, I should say, now, do you see him as somebody who, can actually change a lot for Cameroonians right now in this country? Like, I'm talking about especially for people in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, because some people are saying that maybe it's time they pass the baton of command to probably somebody from one of these regions. I mean, so when you look at this, what's your take on this particular thing? Because he's calling on Cameroonians to massively come out and vote. And we know that the SDF has always been a strong political stronghold in this country. So what is your take on SDF actually coming into this particular a race? What is your take on this particular issue?
Well, I believe the SDF has been very instrumental in the growth of this country, and I also believe it's high time that someone from another region, also takes the seat. Yes. Now, one of the main things I want to focus on is meritocracy. I feel we should focus more on what a member can actually offer and what he can do as per what they have also been doing in the past.
That's smart there.
Yes. If we focus on this, we would erase the idea of just having another person. Rather, we will focus more on having someone who will revolutionize the current state of our country. Nevertheless, we have had one president ever since, like I always say, ever since I was born. So I can't really state that I will know what will happen after. Nevertheless, I believe that as time unfolds, we would see what he can do. I believe that his past record for the SDF and the things that he has been doing, I don't believe the party would put him in this chair if he wasn't worth the power, if he wasn't worth it. So one thing I'll say is I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do. Yes, before the elections and after the elections.
Okay. Yes. I think we are going to come back in subsequent editions of this particular press review to talk about the exploits of the different parties and and their leaders and the who are running, because we have to really do a lot of extensive research on how they have been evolving with their way. So we'll follow it day after day, minute after minute, we'll follow everything. So every time we come on set, we always try to expatiate on this particular issues. Now we are going to talk the media. The media is also out. The media talks about Cameroon blocked by Elekam for the October presidential race, plus 13 candidates retained by Elekam as opposition leader Maurice Kamto's exclusion sparks outrage, casting doubt on fairness of upcoming polls. Now, we have these other stories still on the media where they say October presidential polls rejected candidates should whip in silence, not in the streets. That is the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, who is reiterating his words there and he stands there. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, has endorsed SDOs and DOs to reinforce vigilance and ensure tolerance of street violence and no tolerance of street violence, I should say. That's what the media reports there. Now we also have CMA enlarged ESCO meeting as Oki Johnson extolled for exceptional leadership as the media reports today. Still on the media, Nigerian beat host Morocco and lift a 10th African title, and A6 celebrates 20 years of excellence, as we can see today on the media. Now, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, comes out to say everybody who was not selected to run should whip instead of sparking outrage, because we saw what happened over the weekend in Douala and Yaoundé. People came out, even in the diaspora, I think people came out in their numbers and said that. I think I watched a video which made a lot of noise online.
Yes.
I think some group of individuals came out and said that we should handle our internal problems in Cameroon, but by the time we cross over there, they will handle the external problems of Cameroon, in the diaspora, because they were really mad that Professor Maurice Kamto was not part of this particular, presidential post, even though it has been petitioned, because I believe Madam has petitioned.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but now when you look at what the Minister of Territorial Administration is saying, should we say Professor Maurice Kamto is going a little bit far to always spark this kind of controversies in the country? Because every time a controversial statement or outburst happens, his name always seems to be mentioned in these particular issues which are happening in the country. what do you really think should be done to actually, can he not just be a bad loser and just sit down and just watch things unfold, or should he continue fighting and persisting to actually be part of this presidential race? I mean, what do you think uh, President Maurice Kamto's stance should be right now in the country? Because I think even other presidential aspirants have written to him and called for him to even come and join their camp instead of trying to fight to stand on his own, because they believe that if they join forces together, or like they'll be stronger. So, but he is still persisting for wanting to stand, under the guise of managing party. When you look at all what's unfolding at the Minister of Territorial Administration coming to actually control the situation and telling people that we should stop sparking controversies in the country because of this, don't you think it's high time the Minister of Territorial Administration's words should be final instead of people who is revoking them?
Well, I believe the first thing I would say is no to violence.
Yes.
Whether during protests, whether during protests or whether during violent crackdowns by government operatives. I believe that this is the highest time that we have to come together peacefully to make sure that we choose a leader that will actually get us to the helm of where we are going, to get us to that futuristic level. But violence is not going to take us anywhere. Nevertheless, we all know Professor Maurice Kamto. We know how vibrant he has been. We have heard the things he has done, and we have seen the crowd that is following this man. You can't have a group of people following someone if he is not worth something.
That's true.
Yeah. So I believe that he has the right to petition. He should move forward. Nevertheless, if there are calls for him to actually look for a peaceful way to run, I would advise to that he should also think about it, look into it, because violence will not lead anywhere. It will not. I don't think it would
solve any problem.
Have a very good image
of the country.
Yes, of the country, and even for him. That nevertheless, we should stand forth for what is fair and what is right.
But elections Cameroon happens to always, conduct their business in fairness and balance. So if elections Cameroon has shortlisted, these candidates and said that okay, these are the people who are going to run, and it is final, then why do we go and start petitioning things again? Meaning that it means you were not selected maybe because you're not eligible, and that's what is sparking the outrage, because Professor Maurice Kamto seems to be one of the most eligible people on this list. So how is it possible that his name doesn't make the list? Maybe that'll be a story for another day. But in the meantime, let's continue with the program. I think we'll talk about the next paper. We have Herald Tribune today. Herald Tribune says CMA General President Oki Johnson gets double recognition. I think stories on almost every paper today in the country. Plus, Bamenda City Council ranks last with 0% in Mezam during execution of a 225 public investment budget. Plus, Rest Unity Palace, John Gute set stone for CPDM victory in Fako Meme. And Bishop Bibi thanks God for 25 years in priesthood. Plus, Douala Port boosts capacity with new tugboats. Elekam retains 13 candidates for October presidential election. These are some of the major stories today on the Herald Tribune. Now, the Douala Port boosts capacity with new tugboats. A very important story. 287 billion francs has been allocated for this project, which is already underway. Now, they're talking about 4,000 new jobs, which have to be created due to this particular initiative. Now, when you look at this is something which needs to be commended, right?
Of course.
It needs to be commended. Now, but when you look at this, you see that most of these things are happening in Douala, Kribi, where there are ports. We don't see those kind of initiatives happening in Limbe. Is it that the government has forgotten about the fact that we are supposed to have a Limbe seaport?
No.
In your own words, in your own opinion, because I think according to feasibility studies gotten from almost every document we could lay our hands on, Libya has a natural deep sea port. But we don't see some of these projects coming our way. Yeah, the major projects, some come, they come, but they don't come like that. This is a 200, it's 7 billion France project. We don't see those kind of projects coming this way. It's true that Douala is the economic hub of the country. We understand that. But sometimes we're thinking that we could also benefit from, the people in Limbe can also benefit from such initiatives. What do you think could be the problem?
Well, then again, as far as the problem goes, I will leave that to the state to answer. Nevertheless, we all know that Limbe is a place that has been marked for the construction of a new port. When you're buying land and all that, it's very clear there are some places where you cannot buy land that fall within the periphery of where this sport is supposed to be.
Okay.
Yes. Nevertheless, we also believe that if Limbe had these resources, Limbe would have skyrocketed into a super city a long time ago.
I think in a metropolitan city.
A very big city,
yeah,
and also very powerful. So I feel that as a people, we should also come together and also appeal to the state to actually consider Limbe, not just as a port city for the Anglophone area, for the English-speaking area, but a port city for the entire country. Because Limbe on its own is a small, how will I put it, a small miniature form of what the country is.
Okay.
Because Limbe is not just a place for just Anglophones. Limbe is a place for Cameroon, because in Limbe you find people from the north, you find people from the east, you find people from the west, from the south, from the northwest, everywhere. So I believe the community is ready. What's the next step? The next step is actually to implement these things, to actually make sure that we also get these jobs, we also get these resources, not just for getting these jobs and these resources, but to also revolutionize the per capita income of this country.
Okay.
Taking us to the next level, putting us on the stage where you have other powerful countries like Dubai and the others. I believe that we have a lot of resources. I believe that we are more than ready.
Okay. We are more than ready, as Councillor says here. Now we have municipal updates, which is also on our agenda today. In the Southwest region, according to municipal updates, the Prime Minister galvanizes FACO Meme to massively vote President Paul Biya, who is one of the favorite candidates for these elections, which is coming up on October 12th. Now, also have Elecam validates 13 candidates. Of course, we have seen this particular story on almost every paper today because that's a major news story in the country. National President Oki Johnson, much less leadership celebrated as the Cardiac Men's Association. Plus, former secondary education delegate murdered at home in the center region. Now, this is a call for concern, Councillor.
Yes.
We have seen over the years in Cameroon, the crime wave seems to be rising amidst our security dispositions, which has been put in place by the state. Now, this is a story which raised my eyebrow today. I mean, but at first people say it is because we're in the southwest or because we're in the northwest region where these things always are they always occur all the time. They're always recurrent. Now, this is the center region. Former secondary education delegate murdered at her home. We're talking about a public servant murdered at the home. We saw last time in Idabato, the GO was kidnapped, and even though he was finally released, I think some years ago we saw 5 divisional delegates still at Indian division there who were mutilated, killed, and buried. You see, when you look at what has been unfolding over the years in Cameroon, how do you think we should start strengthening our security problems or find ways to mitigate the security problems in the country? Because it is becoming, it's only alarming. We saw, I think some weeks ago in Limbe, we saw a group of youths who tried to rob a bank in broad daylight.
My God.
Yes, in broad daylight. I think one of them was shot in the head and he passed away. So you see the crime waves are increasing amidst our security dispositions which have been put in place by the state. Now, what could be the problem? How can we find a way to mitigate this issue? Because we're talking about a public servant. It's not somebody who was just murdered, like that, or a random person, or maybe, this is a public servant. It's someone who is serving the state. The person is murdered at his home. I mean, what are we supposed to do next to actually ensure proper security, especially for those people who actually, hold the Republican, ideology at heart in Cameroon? What do we do to actually stop all of these murderous scenes which we have been seeing in Cameroon? I mean, in your own opinion.
All right. I will propose 3 things. The first thing, we have to improve the technological aspect of our security to make sure that we have items like cameras scattered around the city so that in case something happens, CCTV cameras,
true.
And they should also be on permanent watch all the time to make sure that when someone goes here and then someone goes here, we can easily be able to actually catch and apprehend whoever is involved. The second thing I would like to talk about is the economy. We have to improve our economy, and we have to put more money in the hands of youth. Because once they are in a system where they are not earning, they cannot see where they are going to. These are the things that push them into this kind of nefarious activities. Yes, and the third thing that I would say is the sensitization of our youth and our people. We have to understand that we are one. We have to understand that crime does not pay. This high level of violence is not the way forward. And in order for these things to be done, our youth have to be sensitized positively from the start, from the moment in which they are young and growing up. They have to be sensitized with positive information. I'm talking about the things we see on TV, on social media, and all of that. This has to a certain degree of watch has to be put on it to actually make sure that our youth are also sensitized in a positive way, in a positive light. So these are my suggestions.
Very good suggestions there. I think everybody who's watching us right now should actually see that Council has given us some very important suggestions which can actually boost, the security measures in the country. The first thing that struck me from those suggestions was the CCTV, because I think somebody told me last time, I'm not comparing Cameroon to England, but somebody told me one time about in England, I think in London, every square mile, every street and things of that nature. And that's why it's a country where crime is really minimized. You hardly hear gunshots even in the town of London. I think people, when people commit crimes, that they use knives and things of that nature, because you don't see this kind of things happening regularly there. So I think that's a very good suggestion there. We have maybe CCTVs everywhere around the town, and in different towns in Cameroon. I think it's going to help a lot to reduce some of this crime waves. So I think suggestion is commendable.
Thank you.
Now we have the post, which we are going to also talk about today. The post talks about Elecam retains 13 candidates, of course, for October 12 presidential elections, and also extends hand to rejected candidates, calls for a joint force against Biya. That's Joshua Osinabangi talking there. Then we also have Chongwin brothers bring diaspora dreams home as Villa opens in spectacular fashion in Limbe. That is a villa which is located around Ngeme area. Now we have Manidem sees Constitutional Council as Elecam disqualifies come to Minat's Justice petitioned. That's the Minister of National Territorial Administration has been petitioned, and also the Ministry of Justice has been petitioned by Kamto's camp. As we can also see here today. Also, Bugadiosi celebrates Bishop Bibi's 25th anniversary in priesthood. These are the major stories which the Post has today. The Post also has this other story where they say the World Health Organization unveils breakthrough injectable drug to prevent HIV. Now, let's go back to this Kamto issue again, just very briefly, because it's something which, now, when somebody petitions, so a politician like this comes to petition the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Territorial Administration, what could be the outcome of him petitioning these two ministries, as a candidate, someone who wants to go on, who is vying for the top position in the country?
Well, it's simple. I was supposed to be on the presidential table, and I'm not there. So what's happening? I want to be there. So it is right as a citizen of this country,
to petition.
Yes, to actually petition. So which has already been done. Right now, what we are going to do is we are going to view as spectators to see how it goes and where it's going to be, basically.
Okay, now what if the petition is turned down and he continues to fight? Now that would be a different story, right?
Well, as far as I know, Professor Maurice Kamto, he doesn't give up. So he's going to keep going on, and him being a legal luminary for so many years means he has a basic understanding, not just a basic understanding, he has an expert understanding of how politics in the country runs, of how politics runs not only in the country but in the world as well. And I believe he has already prepared for most of these things and is ready to fight the long fight. So we'll see how it goes.
Ready to fight the long fight. We wish him a good fight then in his political campaign trail. That is Professor Maurice Kamto. We have a Dawn which is also on our agenda today. The Dawn paper, which is also another paper, bred and born right here in the city of Limbe. Now, the Dawn says Prime Minister in Boya fires up Southwest CPDM base ahead of the presidential race. That is what the Dawn reports today. Now, the Dawn also says PAD tugboats, as the port in Douala tugboats in the function immortalized. Also, CCA Bank, 2 Islamic finance branches inaugurated. And there's also a signing of a memorandum of understanding slated for July 31st, 2025. For a Limbe Deep Sea Port, Cameroon's Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Massenangal, he is expected for the official signing of a memorandum of understanding aimed at kickstarting the much anticipated Limbe Deep Sea project. That is what the Dawn reports today for us. Now, anticipation is building up.
Yeah.
if there is already a memorandum of understanding which is signed and sealed, and the Minister of Transport is expected here in Limbe, according to what the Dawn is reporting today. And now, the Limbe Deep Sea project, now, when you do some small feasibility studies, some small calculations in your own head right now, how much you think this project can actually bring or can be more or can be beneficial to the inhabitants of Limbe, and how many people do you think could be expected to be recruited for the project?
Well, I would say many people.
Because in Douala, for this Douala project, they're talking 4,000 new jobs.
Yes.
With a budget of about 287 billion francs. For this other project, we don't yet know. We don't yet know the arithmetic behind everything, because we are yet to know. But now, when you look at when you envisage it, on the use of futuristic financial projections, you who has done some of these things before, because I know you have an NGO. How do you think this thing is going to impact or change many lives right here in the city of Limbe? Because we were talking about it a moment ago, and we need that kind of thing in Limbe.
Yes, we
do. So how do you think it's going to change lives? Because Limbe too, let's not forget, Limbe is a small town. So do you think there will be a lot of construction works going on to try to make the town bigger? I mean, how do you envisage these particular procedures?
All right. Firstly, all the great cities in the world, I would say 95 to 98% of the great cities in the world are port cities.
Okay.
Are port cities, which, back then in the times of the Germans, when Germany was like the most powerful country in the world, Limbe was a port city. So I believe that that aspect of actually the construction of a deep sea port here is going to revolutionize Limbe completely. I'm not talking only about infrastructure. I'm talking about finance. I'm talking about even the living standard of the people. We are going to have thousands and thousands of jobs coming in. There are already people who are already waiting in anticipation. I'm talking literally biting their fingernails and waiting for a great opportunity like this to come. So, we talk about Limbe being a small city and all that, but I guarantee you, the moment Limbe has this ability of resource that comes in via the port, it's going to completely transform and revolutionize it. What I'm praying for is that the people of Limbe, the indigents of Limbe, get to actually benefit from this greatness that is coming. Because if they don't, it's going to literally turn the city upside down, where you have a big and beautiful city, and then you have a lot of poor people who have been there ever since its creation, but they are not benefiting from it. So I believe that the government has this in mind, and I believe that we also, as a people, many people, it's of recent that I've been finding out that this is happening. So I believe that it's something that is really commendable, and it's something that all hands held together, it will push us to the next phase of development.
Okay, so the memorandum of understanding is slated for the 31st of July, 2025, as the Dawn reports here today, in a few days from now. And the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Masnangale is expected to be here in the town of Limbe, as the Dawn reports. Now we have Cameroon Tribune. I think this is another stronghold name in Cameroon.
Yes.
We have Election Presidentielle, like I say in French, Tres Admis à Elecam. That's what Cameroon Tribune reports today. Cameroon Tribune also talks about this other story where they say Douala Ports Authority extension work on course. Prime Minister John Goudet, on behalf of the head of state, last Friday, July 25, 2025, laid the foundation stone for a mixed terminal that is expected to boost operations in the port. The 282 billion francs CFA investment will create some 4,000 jobs and step up the structural capacity of the facility. This story could be read today on page 3 of the Cameroon Tribune. Plus, Sopecam, le challenge de la présidentielle, c'est l'un des sujets majeurs évoqués lors de la 63e session ordinaire du conseil d'administration de la société de presse et d'édition du Cameroun vendredi à Yaoundé. Les comptes de l'entreprise ont également été passés au gain fin et validés. On peut lire ça sur page 30 et 31 respectivement. That is what Cameroon Tribune reports today. Cameroon Tribune also has other stories, a human interest story where only elle frappe 15 millions à son fiancé. That's a person known as Barthélemy. Oui, on est basé en Europe, a porté plainte jeudi contre Mirabel T, qu'il comptait épouser en décembre, mais qui a disparu après avoir reçu des fonds pour le dos de l'achat d'un terrain. So This is a story where a man who had already paid money for his wife's price. The woman disappeared with the money to go and buy land somewhere or something like that, and now the man is reclaiming his money. That is what the Cameroon Tribune is reporting today. It's a human interest story which is making waves in the country. And of course, they say le Conseil électoral d'élection Cameroun a levé samedi dernier le résultat de l'examen de 83 déclarations de candidature transmises par la Direction générale des élections, portrait et des leaders à l'assaut de la magistrature suprême. Première réaction et ambiance au Conseil constitutionnel où les recours sont attendus jusqu'à ce lundi à minuit. Nos pages spéciales sur page 15 or 5 and 15. Yes, like Cameroon Tribune actual reports today. And Serac also assists people. Textbooks, complete computers, solar lamps, and other materials were last Friday handed over to primary schools of the locality by the Humanitarian Association of First Lady Chantal Bia. The Serac delegation was led by Mrs. Odile Eyebe Aisi, Deputy General Coordinator. You can read this particular story today on page 28 and 29 to actually catch up with Serac's activities as Cameroon Tribune reports today. Now, Councillor, when you look at what is happening in the country, this is another story of human interest story which actually caught my attention here. This Barthélemy guy comes in, pays a bride price for his wife, and then the wife disappears with the money to go and do whatever nefarious purposes she had to do with the money. Now, when you look at stories like this, which happen, because they happen every time. Every time. I'm talking because you are in a better position to give most of us unmarried people advice. So, when you look at this kind of thing happening like this,
yes, sir.
do you really think that within the context of marriage, love, and the sanctity of marriage, do you really think that those days still exist in Cameroon or even Africa? Like, do people really get married again based on true sentiments, or because people really care about somebody's genuine feelings, or it's just for different nefarious purposes or for different reasons? Because when you look at stories like this, it makes you even fear the concept of you want to even get married because you are afraid that maybe somebody is coming just maybe for his or her own personal gain. What do you think about this? What advice can you give people out there when it comes to marriage? Because I know you're a happily married man, so what advice can you give out there for young boys so they cannot be scared from getting married like some people?
Well, I will say this to my brothers, and to my sisters out there, if you're looking for a spouse, my brother, my sister, pray to God.
Okay.
Yes, you should pray, because firstly, no matter how smart you think you are, you can never really understand the concept of the human nature. You don't know who you don't know who your spouse is until you get married to them and you're living in the same house. That's when you start seeing certain types of behaviors that you never knew. So I would still narrow it down to prayer. Yes, nevertheless.
So in a nutshell, courtship is very important first.
Yes, courtship is important. Nevertheless, there is also the aspect of faith and trust in the person that you are with. So if they fail you, like what just happened to this gentleman, then you move forward with your life. Because you cannot really predict how the other person is going to behave. People are unpredictable. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that we should not get into marriage, because marriage basically it's the first and major foundation of the community. Most of us out here, doing things. A great deal of people, we are actually standing strong because we came from homes where we had a man and a woman, holding our hands together. Yeah, so it's not something that is done because of fanfare or I am getting old, I have to get married. No. It is something that, for me, even you should put your sentiments aside.
Yeah.
Yes, you focus. Okay, I want to be with this person because of this and this reason, and you get in. If the person fails you or the person is not what they seem to be, then you move on with your life.
Yeah.
Yes. Nevertheless, it should not be a reason for us to not want to get married. And as I mentioned earlier before, my brother, you should pray.
you mentioned a man and a woman holding your hand, throughout your lifetime, and I think it just made me to think of President Donald Trump, who says there are only two sexes, male and female. There's no other one that he knows in his vocabulary. So anybody who has a different way of predicting these things, so thank you very much for that particular advice there, because it's very important for many young people out there who are always running away from marriage to actually start seeking, trying to find ways to get married, because marriage is very important. So no matter how people run away from, people are scared, scared from this thing. So now we have the advocate paper, which is also on our agenda today. The advocate says the Scoop Excellence Award, all roads lead to Kumba. In a nutshell, this particular award ceremony will be taking place in Kumba, in the Limbe division of the Southwest region. Now, we have Togo Marathon Donetsk Guinness World Records attire certificates to National Museum Plus. Barrister Epe castigates decree on notaries public. A story which could be read today on page 4. PM John Gute seals Bia's victory in Southwest come October. That is what the advocate reports today. Plus, Nico Halle speaks on hate speech. Hate speech, another very important aspect and topic which I think we could capitalize on this particular paper, the advocate, which is out there today. Now, we have seen a lot of defamatory statements made over the months, on social media, politicians, we've seen things which have been happening in so many places in the country. Now, hate speech seems to be a factor which has been fueling some of these things which we all know. For example, we saw what happened last time, even at the Senate. I think at the Senate, where I think I'll not call the person's name. I think one prominent politician, that was some years ago, took a shoe and shot somebody and mentioned words and uttered words. So when we see Seniko Halle speaking on talking about hate speech, I think it is one of those times when we need to sensitize the public about hate speech more than ever. Your thoughts?
Yes, firstly there are consequences for what we say. We have to be very careful, especially when you are a public figure.
And I think especially now that we are running through elections, electoral period.
This is a very, very sensitive time. Period, Yes. So you have to be very careful with the kind of information that you are giving out there, especially for public figures, because you can say something that can spark an outrage here and people die. So right now, to me, the best thing that we can do, whatever thing that we have to do, it has to be done professionally. Violence begets violence. So if we are coming together to make sure that we want to do something because we believe in our country and we believe that we can actually be that futuristic people, that let's say several years later, we'll say 2025, 2026, there was this great group of Cameroonians who did this and who did that. It would not come from the amount of hate speech and violence and killings that we did. It will come from the love, the professionalism, and the great degree of diplomacy, democracy, and peace that we actually infused into our system to make sure that we have a beautiful transition of power, we have a beautiful elections, and you can take it from there.
Well said, Councillor. I think we have to always bring you on set most of the times to actually educate our young Cameroonians out there, because hate speech is something which we need to discard from everybody's vocabulary, because it brings a lot of division, tribalism, and all of that. So I think it's high time we start talking about these things aloud, and I'm very happy that you actually profoundly, gave your statements on this thing. Now we have our last paper for the day, which is none other than the NewsHub. The NewsHub reports today saying that the 2025 presidential Camto, a threat to the regime. That is put in question mark. Is Camto a threat to the regime? Why are they always trying to put to side him away from this thing? So our Prime Minister fortifies Southwest CPDM elite with victory techniques, and then also two gangs dismantled in Yaoundé that are still concerning crime waves. And now the most important story on the NewsHub today, which caught our attention: who hacked Minat's website? Now, who hacked the Ministry of Territorial Administration's website? Now, Councillor, the state is supposed to have some of the best engineers in the country. I'm talking about what type of engineer, civil engineer, software engineer, how is it possible that a website that is state-owned is being hacked? I mean, How is that even possible in a country like Cameroon where we're supposed to have, security, especially for a sensitive ministry like the Ministry of Territorial Administration? Like, who hacked that website? Because from all indications, when I look at what they are saying here, probably they may have found the culprits, the people who did this. So how is it possible that a website is hacked? We have a big ministry like the Ministry of Telecommunications, which is supposed to be taking place. They're taking, they have to ensure that this kind of things don't even happen. How does this kind of thing happen in a country like Cameroon? I mean, when you look at this particular issue, what do you think? How do you think they could treat this issue right now? Because hacking, if they can only hack websites which belong to state-owned corporations, how is it possible that you, with your own normal account, you won't get hacked? Or I want you to trust if you cannot trust even the information that come out from public websites like the Minad website, which has been hacked, according to what NewsHub is reporting here today.
Well, I think this is a call to our ministry to actually improve the nature of cybersecurity. This shows that there is a weakness that needs to be addressed and that needs to be solved. That can be solved.
Exactly.
This also means that as a country, we have to boost our cybersecurity systems. We have to make sure that we get the right people who are there to actually make sure that things like this don't happen. Because normally before a system is being hacked, there are certain parameters that we have to go through to actually make sure that we secure our system. So I believe that securing the system more professionally, putting in more advanced solutions will be much better.
Okay. I think in the US, they have a commission that actually helps to fight cybercrime. I just forgot the name of it. It's not, I don't think it's NASA, but they have something like a commission which fights. I don't know, in Cameroon, because I think it's the Ministry of Telecommunications which handles most of these things. They come up with firewalls at the different ministries, they put the antiviruses and whatever, because I'm not an expert on the domain or the subject matter. But then it is really disheartening to see that these kind of things are already happening. Because if these things like this are already happening, it means that information could be manipulated.
Of course.
Official information could be manipulated because we are talking about a ministry here. So when I think it's high time that we start boosting our cybersecurity, sector, like you said here, because it's really very, very important. We also have a story where they say 2 gangs dismantled in Yaoundé. Of course, these are stories which we always see every day in Cameroon, which still proves one thing: the crime wave in the country is still, the insecurity is still alarming. There's still a lot of insecurity in Cameroon.
We have to tighten our security.
Exactly. So I think it's time we continue. Now, come to a threat to the regime. I think that's where we'll end this today. Do you honestly think come to a threat to this regime?
Yes, I believe it's a threat to this regime.
Okay.
Yes, basically, he's an opposition. The CPDM party,
So would you say political bigwigs, government officials are doing everything possible to put him aside or to find ways? I'm talking about legal ways of putting him aside so that he should not just run for election. Do you think that's what is actually happening now in Cameroon? That's what is transpiring right now in Yaoundé?
Well, I wouldn't say that because I'm not there, but I would say that basically, if someone was a threat, to your regime,
to your well-being,
to your well-being, you will do what is necessary to actually keep them at bay. Yes, to actually keep them. I will not use the word elimination.
Okay,
I will say to actually keep them at bay. Nevertheless, I believe that whatever is happening is following legal procedure. So the only way for Professor Maurice Kamto to actually overthrow what is happening is to also follow the legal procedure and beat it at its game. So,
because it is shocking that he was eligible for presidential candidacy in 2018, and now in 2025 he's not eligible. So I mean, what could be the problem? So you see that those are some of the questions which many Cameroonians have been asking that sparked outrage all over the national territory, even in the diasporans, in the only air that sparked a lot of rage there. So that's why you see this question keeps on coming up. Is Kamto a threat to the BI regime? Why is Kamto always being discarded? Why is Kamto always being followed up? Why is he the person who is always coming on this one facility to assiege? He's always the one who they put on the side or who they always put, So all of these things are beginning to make Cameroonians ponder and think if Professor Maurice Kamto is actually being targeted personally because they believe that he is supposed to be a presidential aspirant.
Of course.
I think that is what we have been getting from all our news auditors out there who have been coming, even our pundits who come out and tell us about some of these things, especially the ones in Yaoundé, Douala, who are following the story, here on the ground every
it's
day.
on every paper.
It's on every paper like we see today, come to everywhere. So, I mean, when you look at some of these things, it's a call for concern. I want to start finding probable solutions to problems like this in Cameroon. Because I think at the end of the day, Councillor, we need a fair and democratic system, and the process should be, perfect. That's what we're adjusting. I think we should start embracing perfection. So it is with that we are going to actually end today's edition of our daily press review on Cam1 Television. Of course, I was in the studio with the one and only Councillor Badi Beno. It was always good having you on set.
The pleasure is mine, sir.
Hopefully, we shall be back here, in the days ahead to talk about other news stories, and other things which have actually been fueling a lot of tensions in Cameroon. And hopefully, as the presidential elections, the race is unfolding, and we hope that we'll be following it closely to always bring first-hand information to our viewers out there. For now, bye-bye, and ladies and gentlemen, have a blessed day in the company of other programs on Cam1 Television.